The NBA Finals. Two teams left standing. A smothering defense against a lighted-up offense. The descendants of the 80s bad boys against the descendants of Showtime. Great individual matchups. Two strategic masterminds. The renewal of a rivalry. A team that contests every possession against a team designed to win this title. It's the NBA Finals. Game 1.
I got 24 seconds to live, and 200% is what I'm gonna give. So I push through the pain and raise my game. A victory is the only thing to gain. Even though I'm playing the game, I ain't playing. The trophy is the reason why I came. Let's get it started. Let's get it started.
Staples Center in Los Angeles, home of the Lakers since the 99-2000 season. As we get ready for Game 1 of the NBA Finals, the Detroit Pistons against the Los Angeles Lakers. Showtime. Magic Johnson is here. Some of the old Piston bad boys. They'll be around during the playoffs. There was Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and welcome to Game 1. Al Michaels with Doc Rivers. Michelle Tafoya and Stuart Scott will work the sideline. A lot of people thought the Lakers could win 70 games this year and go 70-12. Didn't happen. They won 56. Detroit won 54. But as far as the Lakers are concerned, they are here. Most people think they will win. They are heavily favored. A lot of people think they will sweep. Doc, I have to look at it this way. I think the Pistons have a lot better chance to beat the Lakers than Birdstone had to beat Smarty Jones yesterday. How do they do it?
That's a smart thing you're saying right there, Alan. And this is how they do it. They score points. You know, they believe if they can get to that 85 or 90 number, they know they're going to play defense. And the Detroit Pistons aren't looking at the Lakers like everyone else is looking at the Lakers. They're looking at them as an opponent. They believe if they can get to 85 or 90 points and average that in the series, that they will win this series.
And that might be a tough task, though, because in the Eastern Conference Finals just concluded, they averaged only 75 points a game, but they won the series. Let's take a look right now at the Bud Light starting lineups. Phillips and Hamilton in the backcourt for Detroit. Prince, and then the unrelated Wallaces. Rashid, who came over from Atlanta via Portland, of course, and then Ben Wallace in the middle with Payton and Bryant, George and Malone and O'Neal. For the Lakers, four of those guys, everybody but George, will clearly be going into the Hall of Fame someday. And now the ceremonial opening tip with Magic in the middle. James Worthy, former Laker, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, flanking Magic. And the opening ceremonial tip is taken by Shaq. Well, it's L.A. You got to give it to the home team, right?
He threw it that way.
So here we go with Joe Crawford, Bernie Fryer, and Bob Delaney as the officials tonight. Gary Payton, who came from Seattle and then Milwaukee last year, big pay cut to win a championship. Karl Malone to win a championship. Kobe now tries to win his 4th championship, as does Shaquille O'Neal. Joe Crawford will send it skyward. And at 10 minutes past 6 in Los Angeles, the NBA Finals get underway. But Shaq was whistled by Bernie Fryer from the side. Prematurely going up for the tip.
Yeah, he kind of quick jumped, if Shaq can quick jump. I don't know if you can put those two words together. But bottom line, you have to let the ball reach its apex before you can hit it, and he didn't do that.
And he didn't, so they give it to Detroit. And that means Detroit will also inbound in the 4th quarter. The Lakers will inbound when they start the 2nd and 3rd periods. This is Chauncey Billups working outside. He'll be a key man in the series. And this is Wallace hitting on his first shot. Well, Rasheed Wallace, who was the bad boy in Portland, he was a walking technical foul, but he's been a model of civility since going to Motown.
He really has, and he's very important in this series. They believe Rip Hamilton will score. They need Rasheed Wallace to score, and they need Chauncey Billups to score points.
Here's Malone on a fadeaway, but O'Neal is there for the putback over Ben Wallace. Phil Jackson saying yesterday a healthy dose of Shaq.
Well, I think if you are a prize fighter, you want to come out and show guys your big punch. You're going to see that early.
Payton got it, then lost it, but Bryant gets it back. Kobe now settling into the half court. Devin George, Shaq on the high post, and then George slips down and loses the ball, and out of bounds it goes to Detroit. The crowd thought Hamilton touched it last.
I thought Hamilton touched it last also. Both officials were blocked out on the play, and that happens in a game. So it was tough to see.
So Detroit with the opening basket. A three-pointer by Rasheed Wallace. This is Billups working off a screen, but Payton staying right with him. Now Hamilton misses his first shot of the finals, and Malone clears the board. Bryant losing it. Rasheed comes up with it. And now Hamilton in front of the Detroit bench. Pistons coached by Larry Brown. In the finals, second time in 4 years. That's an air ball thrown up by Wallace. Rasheed is known for offense and defense. Ben is known for defense only. And there was Payton trying to get it to O'Neal, but too high.
Yeah, right now you can see Detroit defensively. They're not going to help off Shaq much. They know if someone beats them off the dribble, you can't leave Shaq because that leaves them free. Ben Wallace shooting the air ball doesn't bother the Pistons at all. They're not looking for his offense.
That's 3 straight Laker turnovers. And they lost the opening tip because of the premature jump by O'Neal.
So we've gone 2 minutes. The score's 3-2, Al. And I can tell you right now, this is exactly the way Larry Brown wants it.
Larry Brown's philosophy would be similar to a football coach who wants to keep possession of the ball as long as he can and shorten the game. The fewer possessions the Lakers get, the better it will be for the Pistons.
Yeah, and he can't turn the ball over. That's the one thing Larry Brown said. Now, it's significant early. You see Kobe Bryant guarding Rip Hamilton, and Rip Hamilton fashions himself as the best conditioned athlete in the NBA. If he is, the second best conditioned athlete is Kobe Bryant. But an early foul is why you don't want Kobe on Rip too long.
That's Kobe with a foul, and let's check in with Michelle Tafoya. Hi, Michelle.
Well, Al, hi. Carl Malone said that this morning when he arrived here at the building for shoot-around, he, for the first time, allowed himself to realize, hey, this is it. These are the finals. First team to 4 wins. Anything else is just second place. Meanwhile, Lakers guard Derek Fisher sprained his MCL, medial collateral ligament, in the right knee in Game 5 of the Western Conference Finals. Al, I'm told if this were the regular season, he would not be playing, but he's just going to play through considerable pain and discomfort, Al.
It's the finals. We'll be hearing from Stuart Scott shortly on the other sideline. Bryant missing the fall away, and Hamilton with a rebound. Phillips back to Hamilton. And Prince gets free. Tayshaun Prince coming home. Grew up in Compton, went to Dominguez High School, and one reason he's had a fast ascension, he's in only his second year, he's one of the few guys now who's played 4 years of college ball.
Yeah, and that helps. He's more mature than a lot of guys who have played 2 and 3 years. But Rip Hamilton, again, calls that entire play. He is drawing so much attention now from the Lakers that he's going to get everyone else involved.
Kobe missing a 3. Pistons up by 4. 3 minutes into Game 1.
You can see the switch already with Devin George guarding Rip Hamilton. Again, lots of attention given to Rip Hamilton.
Hamilton missing the layup, sought the foul, didn't get it. Wallace missed the putback, and now the Lakers outside. Inside now to Shaq, and then Wallace tried to steal it. He came around, he tried to wrap his way around to steal it, and Shaq goes to the basket and gets fouled.
Well, that's what Larry Brown doesn't want. He wants, you're either going to front Shaquille O'Neal or you're going to stand behind him, and you have to keep the basket in between you and him. If you go for a steal and don't get it on Shaq, it's usually a dunk, and in this case, it's a three-point opportunity, and not only that, one of the Pistons, Rasheed Wallace, picks up another foul. Larry Brown does not want, of all the guys on the floor of the bigs, Rasheed Wallace getting in foul trouble.
And Shaq, who's hit 41% from the line in postseason with a three-point play. Pistons by 1, 8.5 to go. Opening quarter. Phillips drains it.
See, if there's an X factor in this series, I think it's Chauncey Billups. I think he's the one guy on Detroit that has an advantage because of his size. Gary Payton's a pretty big guy, but Chauncey Billups is a strong point guard, and it also takes Derek Fisher off the floor at times as well.
In their only 2 regular season meetings, as Shaq gets fouled again. The Lakers and the Pistons split 2 games back in November. They played within a 4-day span, once here, once there, and it was Billups who led the Pistons in scoring in both games. As we check in with Stuart Scott. Welcome, Stuart.
Al, thank you. The Lakers had 100 total games NBA Finals experience coming in. The Pistons had 6. But if you think Detroit feels like the local rec team, think again. Larry Brown told me that he keeps reminding Rip and Corliss, hey, you guys have played in an NCAA title game. That's one and done. It doesn't get any bigger than that. Lindsey Hunter said, you don't know the guys on this team. Tayshaun isn't bothered. Chauncey isn't phased. And Rip don't care about nothing as long as he's putting the ball in the basket. I asked Rip Hamilton about the difference in experience, and he looked me straight in the eye and he said, if we play our game, I love our chances. I love them. Al?
He'll really love them if they can split these 2 games here, because then they're home for 3. The finals format is different than the first 3 rounds. It goes 2-3-2 with those 3 in Detroit. And Wallace takes it to the basket. Can't get it to drop. Misses the jam, and there's a foul.
But again, so far, Al, everything is being set up by Rip Hamilton. This entire play, Rip Hamilton comes off the handoff, draws Karl Malone up in the air, gets it to Rasheed Wallace. Now he misses the play and misses the dunk as well, but Devin George pushes him, and that's why he probably missed the tip dunk.
Hamilton, who played high school basketball in Pennsylvania against Kobe Bryant. Kobe grew up in the Philadelphia area, went to Lower Merion, and Hamilton is from Coatesville.
Yeah, there's been a lot of talk about those 2 guarding each other. I don't think you'll see that much. You might see Kobe guarding Rip. I don't think you're going to see Rip guarding Kobe at all. I think it's going to be Tayshaun Prince, and it is so far. And I think Tayshaun Prince is going to give Kobe Bryant some problems with his length. I think the key for Kobe Bryant is, can he take Tayshaun off the dribble?
Kobe Bryant in the playoffs has averaged 25 points per game in the regular season. Bryant averaged 24. 7.5 to go in the period. Bryant, good fake on Hamilton, but can't drop it. Ben Wallace got the rebound. Chauncey Billups. Billups averaged 17 points during the regular season and 15 now in postseason.
Has not played well, or more particularly has not shot the ball well in postseason. I think he's really confused at times on what he wants to be, a point guard or just a scorer. And I think he's better suited as just being a scorer, trying to run the team as a scoring point guard.
5 minutes into the game, all of the Laker points have been scored by O'Neal.
Here's another one.
And he keeps that alive with 2 more.
See, again, if they allow dribble penetration, then if Shaq Mans helps, then he gets all the rebounds. That's what's happening. That's the 2nd time that's happened already.
10-8 with all 8 for O'Neal as Billups hits here, and Detroit is up by 4. Lakers tonight, O'Neal in the middle, and the rest of the team 0 for 6. Into Shaq again. They keep going to him. Guarded by Ben Wallace. That doesn't drop, and he travels. So the Lakers turn it over again.
Yeah, that's more what Larry Brown wants. He wants to just make Shaq score over top. You can't allow him to get as close to the basket as he's been already in this game.
First time out of the game. 6:11 to go in the period. He drafted Milicic. Then he brought Larry Brown in to replace Rick Carlisle. He got Eldon Campbell. And most of the deals that Joe has made have turned out splendidly. Prince drives, and it may have been interference, and it was. The ball was in the cylinder, and interference is called here.
And when you're Detroit, and you're looking for every bucket. you don't want to give up any. But again, Tayshaun Prince being aggressive is a good sign if you're the Detroit Pistons and Larry Brown.
That was Eldon Campbell who's come into the game as Detroit makes its first switch. The Pistons have started the same starting five in all 18 playoff games. Bryant. And the Lakers finally get a basket from somebody other than Shaquille.
Yeah, and not the basket. You know, I think Larry Brown would take that. That's Kobe Bryant taking jump shots. He doesn't want Kobe Bryant beating guys off the dribble, creating havoc.
Here's Campbell, a former Laker. Beautiful feed to Hamilton.
That's a staple of Larry Brown coming out of timeouts. He loves the lobs and the back door. That was set up out of the timeout by Larry Brown,
who's pretty good at setting stuff up out of timeouts. Devin George drops it. You know, one interesting contrast here with the coaches, Doc. Phil Jackson has won 9 titles, seeking a 10th, not in the Hall of Fame. Larry Brown seeking his first, in the Hall of Fame.
Well, I think that'll be fixed.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Pretty shortly, too.
2-point Detroit lead. Larry with Philadelphia over the last 6 years. And, of course, the back and forth with Allen Iverson, so well documented. Who can forget? I mean, Larry Brown is a guy who loves practice more than the games, and he's got a guy going, practice?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Hardly a match made in heaven.
You know, every single player on the Pistons team, they all say this. You got to play the game the right way, because that's what Larry Brown says every single day.
Malone missing, but Shaquille is there for the offensive board. Puts it up and drops it and gets fouled. So the game is tied, and Shaquille O'Neal has 10 points in the first 7 minutes and 43 seconds.
Well, again, offensive rebounds. Every time a guy dribble penetrates, if they help, Shaq gets the rebound. If Shaq gets deep to the bucket, it's very difficult to stop him. Now, that's the second touch foul from Rasheed Wallace, and both of them absolutely were fouls. But if you're going to foul Shaq, you got to foul him hard. And Larry Brown does not want touch fouls in this series.
And when you have a guy pick up 2 fouls with 4:17 left in the first quarter, you're compelled, as is Brown right now, to take Rasheed out and bring Ben Wallace back in as O'Neal misses the free throw.
But where it hurts Detroit is when Rasheed goes out, he's one of the few scorers that this team has.
And apart from that, they really need Phillips to pick up the scoring pace. They know they can get points from that guy, Hamilton. Campbell, one-time Laker. And he gets fouled. You know, Stuart Scott brought up the fact that the Pistons have only 6 games worth of finals experience. And think of it in these terms. 3 games from Eldon Campbell, 3 games for Lindsey Hunter when they were Lakers.
When they were Lakers. So is that a minus? I mean, should we take those away?
Yes. Neutral.
I do think that the experience is a factor in this series. I don't think it swings it towards the Lakers, meaning because of the experience, Detroit can't win. But when you have 100 games of experience to 6, it has to be a factor in whatever you do.
Timeout call between free throws. Time.
We haven't even played 6 minutes yet, and we have 4 turnovers because you don't know what you want to do. You want to pass the ball. You want to use automatic.
Well, that was Phil Jackson letting them know early. You know, I was reading something that Rick Fox said, and he basically said Phil Jackson this year has not used all the mind games that he has used in the past. He basically are letting guys know. He knows that this is a team. There's a very good chance that this team will not be together next year. And so he doesn't have time to build relationships. He's getting them to do what he needs them to do, and he's telling them in a direct way. And in that timeout, you can hear him. He was not cutting anything.
You know, Doc, they talk about a sense of urgency. Phil doesn't sound that way in December, January, or February. It's June. Here's Michelle.
Hey, guys, after Phil Jackson's career as a pro player, he was not planning on coaching. I asked him what he might have done if he hadn't gone into coaching. He said, when I got out of the NBA, there was a test for retired players to tell you what you were suited to do. He said, my 3 answers, outdoor expedition guide, minister and psychologist, or house husband. Fortunately, I found something else.
But next year, some of those may be available again if he doesn't come back. Here's Billups driving to the basket to retake the lead for Detroit.
See, and again, you know, one of the things Phil Jackson, the reason he's upset over the turnovers, he knows that the Detroit Pistons can score off of turnovers, and he also knows if they get to that number, that the Pistons think that 90 number, that it's very difficult to score against this team. So he's making his team understand you have to take care of the basketball.
Shaq just got fouled. You know, it's well known with Jackson that he's very much into Zen Buddhism. He meditates a lot, but this year what he's had to do is mediate a lot.
Yes.
What a year it's been. I mean, you've got Kobe against Shaq. You got Phil and Kobe. You got, is Phil going to come back? Are they going to, you know, renew his contract? Is anybody going to come back?
Is Karl Malone coming back? Is Gary Payton coming back? Is Kobe coming back? Shaq wants a new deal.
Right.
This, you know, and I said it earlier, the Lakers should play at 3 p.m. with the other soap operas because that's what it's been all year. But through all of it, we're sitting here in game one, and the Lakers are still playing.
I've never seen a situation like this in sports, wall to wall, from the beginning of training camp. And, of course, you know, you have to go back when you talk to the Lakers with the foul here. Foul on Gary Payton. You go back, of course, to the signing of the free agents. Then you go back to Kobe's Colorado legal situation. I mean, Kobe this year has been, I mean, think about it. He's a defendant by day and a superstar by night. And then you've got Shaq complaining at the beginning of the year about his contract and all of the stuff that went on. And then Malone got hurt, and Karl missed 40 games this year, half the season.
Yeah, you know, I thought where it started was when Karl Malone went out. I really did. They started the season out like they were going to win that 72 games. Karl Malone gets hurt. Kobe is having his off-the-court problems. Shaq's unhappy. Phil Jackson's not getting signed again. And I thought that's where things fell apart, if you can call anything that fall apart in L.A., because here, again, they are playing in a final game.
And we haven't even talked about Gary Payton, who just picked up his second foul, and that's why Fisher's in the game, and he immediately turns the ball over to Chauncey Billups, who leads Wallace, and Ben tried to reverse layup and didn't come close.
No, that's one where Ben Wallace has to catch it, go straight up and dunk. And again, that's a two-point opportunity that Detroit should have had, and they didn't get.
George guarded by Prince. Now Bryant with 5 on the 24. O'Neal. Malone has to put it up. And Ben Wallace skies for the rebound. 3-point Detroit lead. A little more than 2 minutes remaining in the opening period in game one. Second game here on Tuesday. Then to Auburn Hills, to the Palace outside Detroit, game 3 on Thursday as Prince drives and can't get it to drop. Now Fisher underneath. And it's a jump ball, clean block.
See, now they've had a block shot. The Lakers have had 5 turnovers. Most likely, and I'm just a guessing man here, Elton Campbell's going to win this tap over Derek Fisher. That is exactly like a turnover for the Lakers. And the last time before that, they shot the ball with 1 second left on the shot clock. So, again, if you're Detroit, you like the pace of this game. It's a slow-paced game. You're forcing turnovers, and you're limiting shots by the Lakers. This is exactly the way Larry Brown wants this game played.
Kareem Rush comes into the game, gets a big hand because he was the hero in the clinching game against Minnesota the other night, hitting 6 3-pointers. Lindsey Hunter came into the game replacing Chauncey Billups. And that's something with Detroit winning the tip that Larry Brown likes to do. He likes to take Billups out for Hunter toward the end of the first quarter and give him a pretty good, as Larry puts it, extended rest.
Yeah, and I think it's good matchup in this series because Derek Fisher is not a big point guard, neither is Lindsey Hunter, so they kind of fit each other.
Hamilton was guarded by Rush. Now Campbell is free. And just before the 24 went off, he puts it in, and Detroit is up by 5.
You know, Elton Campbell practiced against Shaquille O'Neal, so he knows who Shaquille O'Neal is. He was traded partly because of Shaquille O'Neal, because they already had a 5, and Elton wanted to be the 5. So he's going to be very comfortable in this series.
Relatively speaking, Doc.
Yeah.
How do you guard Shaq and be comfortable as Rush misses what would have been a 3?
Yeah, great point.
Yeah. Under a minute to play, opening period. And Bryant with the steal. Keeps it inbounds, drives, scores. Kobe Bryant now has 4 points. O'Neal is already in double figures with 11. Rasheed Wallace is the leading scorer for Detroit with 5, but he's on the bench. Now to Ben Wallace, and Shaq gets there and commits the foul. Joey Crawford calls it. So back to the Bryant steal now.
Well, this is more of a careless pass, Al. I mean, you could see Kobe sneaking up before the pass was even thrown. So pretty easy steal. Not an easy basket that he makes. Kobe Bryant makes the toughest shots look so simple at times.
Ben Wallace is a Shaq-like free throw shooter. He hit 49% during the regular season, 48% in post. I wouldn't kid you, Dan.
No. You know, it's funny that because Shaquille O'Neal is such a great player that we talk so much about Shaquille O'Neal as a free throw shooter, yet Ben Wallace is an all-star player on another team, and you don't hear a lot of talk about him as a free throw shooter, and probably because he's not a big scorer, so he doesn't get the ball as much.
Right. I mean, Shaq's a guy who's going to average in the mid-20s, and Wallace is a guy who averaged only 9.5 this season. Darvin Ham comes into the game for the Pistons. Put a little pressure on as the period winds down.
And all that pressure is for the Lakers to use clock. That's all Larry Brown wants them to do. He wants to get them down late clock situations and then play his defense.
6-second differential. And that gets blocked by Wallace, but they're going to call goaltending.
It was an excellent move. I tell you, goaltending is such a tough call. It really is. You can make a case that that was going up, but it was also over the cylinder.
And now with less than 4 seconds, Slava Medvedenko, who's come into the game, fouls Hamilton.
And you're talking about bad fouls. You know, with 3.9 on the clock to end the quarter, the last thing you want to do is foul a guy behind the three-point line with no chance of shooting at that time.
Hamilton at the line. He's wearing that plastic mask because of a broken nose. So he wears it to protect himself. I mean, he looks a little bit like Anthony Hopkins in Silence of the Lambs.
Yes, he does. And you know, you can make a case that he's been eating up to his opponent.
Yes. Stop. And we didn't even rehearse that. That's why I'm really going to miss him. 22-19, Detroit by 3. Lakers will get off one more prayer here as Bryant from half court. Ooh. Missing there. And Detroit at the end of the first quarter, the Detroit Pistons in game 1 of the NBA Finals lead the Los Angeles Lakers 22-19. And the Lakers lead the first quarter by Shaquille O'Neal with a total of 11 points. Lakers in the first quarter held to 19 points. The Pistons in the 73 quarters they have played now in the playoffs have held their opponents 40 times, Doc, under 20 points. You know, the Lakers, in watching them all year, they took games off. They took weeks off. They kind of took the first quarter off in a little way tonight, too.
Yeah, you can make that case, or you can make the case about the defense. And, you know, the Pistons defense, everyone said going into this, was it for real? Or was it bad offense? I think right now you're finding out it was good defense. I want you to take a look here. Kobe Bryant, 1, 2, 3 guys, or he's drawing that much attention. You know, I think what they're saying with this is that they can't stop Shaq. They understand that. But the one guy they must try to slow down is Kobe Bryant. And we're going to give him a ton of attention. And by that graphic and that video right there, you saw that.
And that attention has paid off because Kobe was 2 out of 6 from the field, 0 for 3 on 2-point attempts. He had 4 points. And O'Neal, who now comes out of the game to start the second quarter. That's almost stolen by Hunter, but he was out of bounds. He has 11. Let's check in with Stuart Scott.
Al, Detroit had a 3-point lead at the end of the first quarter, and Larry Brown reminded his team, he said, look, guys, we had 5 missed layups and a bunch of missed free throws. He said, we can get our shot. He said, talking about L.A., he said, they're not guarding anybody. Al?
You know, it's very interesting, Al, because talking to the Piston coaches, that's the one thing they kept saying is that we're going to get our shots. We didn't get our shots in the Indiana series because Indiana is an excellent defensive team. If we make our shots, we know we are a great defensive team, they're saying, and they can compete in the series, and you're seeing it.
Well, they had 22 in the first quarter tonight. They had only 11 points the other night against Indiana in the first quarter in a game in which they clinched the East. You saw Bryant hit to make it a 1-point game. You know, a foul here on Kareem Rush.
We've done a ton of Laker games this year, I would say. Yeah. And the one thing that Phil Jackson has said all year is there's one area that he's disappointed in is their defense. And their defense will be tested in this series.
They got a little better when they had to. In the playoffs, especially against San Antonio, after San Antonio had taken a 2-0 lead. Rush to Medvedenko. And a blocking foul here in the game for Detroit. Mehmet Okur from Turkey. One of the guys that Doc talked about earlier as a Shaq guarder.
You know, every time Medvedenko comes in, I get a grin and I laugh because he didn't get the memo that he's one of the role players on this team. You know, when he touches the ball, it's very likely that is going up. You know, he per 48 minutes has the 3rd most attempts on this team. It's pretty interesting when he comes in the game.
Never met a shot attempt he didn't like. He was important the other night too when he came off the bench against Minnesota, and he gives the Lakers the lead, and it's the first time in the game that Los Angeles has led.
Well, what you're waiting for here, if you're an LA fan, is a spurt, and they haven't had any type of runs or spurts in this game thus far.
And the irony is, with Payton and Malone coming here to win rings, neither scored in the first quarter. Hunter from outside. Malone high for the rebound, backs it, comes over to the first row, and ooh, Phillips went head over heels by the first row, lands.
He fell
on the
hard.
Oh yeah, we're right down the.
I tell you, he fell hard, Al, and he landed on his back on the corner of the step. And it may not hurt now because of adrenaline, but that will hurt later. I mean, watch this. That's a hard fall.
I'm always amazed when they get up that quickly. Shaquille has done that a couple of times. In fact, in a Sunday afternoon game that we did, he had what looked like a nasty fall as Okur goes to the basket and gets fouled on his way to the hoop.
You know, always look at falls, and I did as a player too. If you have time to brace yourself, then you're okay. When you don't have time to brace yourself, then you can get hurt. And on that last fall, you can see Chauncey Billups had no time to brace his fall.
Slava's second foul. Okur misses the first. Magic's Laker with the winner of the all-time finals challenge. You can visit the NBA store online at NBA.com. Pick up a Lakers DVD box set online at NBA.com. Started to talk about, remember when Shaq went head over heels over a guy in the first row, and then Michelle interviewed him after the game and asked him about it. He said, I do my own stunts.
He's had some great one-liners.
He's the king of comedy.
He really is.
Rick Fox comes into the game for the first time as Bryant goes out. O'Neal comes back in. Fisher. Malone. Phillips the other way. Ben Wallace gets by Malone and then stepped out of bounds. So he got by Carl, but not before he stepped on the end line. Detroit turns it over.
I tell you, if you're Larry Brown, you're a little upset because you've had a golden opportunity so far in this game to have a big lead. They've missed layups. They've missed close shots. They've not converted on turnovers, and that's what they have to do to win this game tonight.
His team has turned the ball over 6 times now, and the Lakers, who had 4 early turnovers, have a total of 5. 2 minutes into the second quarter. O'Neal. And again, he'll go to the free throw line.
But again, that's Corliss Williamson. So, you know, we talked about 4 guys they can put on him. Corliss Williamson is the 5th guy that they're going to use his fouls also. The one thing Detroit has an advantage on, they are extremely deep. And they're going to use fouls every time Shaq gets close. So this is not Hack-a-Shaq. This is Hack-Shaq when he gets close to a bucket that you know he's going to score on.
Shaquille O'Neal with 12 points. He has scored 25 or more points in 19 games that he has played in the NBA Finals. This is his 4th. The record, Michael Jordan with 20. So Shaq well on his way to equaling that mark with 13 now in the 13 minutes he has played. Hunter gets fouled. So the Lakers by 2. Hunter is a guy who played the early part of his career with Detroit. Then he went to Toronto, and he was actually involved in that Rasheed Wallace 3-way deal this year when Rasheed went to Atlanta for, you know, a cup of coffee. And they sent Hunter to Boston. Here comes Bryant back into the game for Rush, but they knew they were going to get him back a week later, and here he is again.
And I think he's real happy with that.
Yes.
I don't know if I am.
Could have been your guy.
Exactly.
Doc will be coaching the Celtics next year. O'Neal coming out high. And then Kobe. This is what would have been a long 2.
Everything extended out right now for the Lakers. They're getting shots, but you can see, and this is why Phil Jackson was so upset in the one timeout, they're not getting their shots.
Hunter pressured by Fisher. Shaquille comes away from the basket. Williamson gets the rebound, puts it back in, and the Pistons have the lead again, 27-25.
Yeah, and that's a tough matchup for Rick Fox. I mean, Corliss Williamson is usually guarded by 4s. They put him in at the 3 spot. That's a very tough matchup for Rick Fox, especially down low.
Fisher. Rebound to Wallace. Funny thing about the Lakers, you watch Derek Fisher and you think about the Fab 4 and all the guys going to the Hall of Fame. They might not be here, though, were it not for Derek Fisher with his 4-10 shot against San Antonio. Phil Jackson trying to break a tie with Red Auerbach. Most championships, NBA history. Bryant and O'Neal, 19 points. Rest of team 6. Malone gets the rebound. 8.5 to go in the half. Detroit up by 2. Fox, who missed half the season, mending his broken foot, which he sustained in the playoffs last year. Now Shaq against Okur. 3-second violation.
Yeah. He was in the paint before he caught the ball, wanted to take the shot. The double team prevented him from taking the shot. So easy call for the officials.
Doc, in reality, a 3-second call really means what? You're in the lane 4 seconds?
Yeah, exactly, because it takes a second to get in the lane.
Right.
And it takes a second before they notice you. See, again, tough matchup, and Larry Brown knows that. One of the things Larry Brown does is he tries to find a weakness defensively on the other team, and then he'll keep going to that weakness. Right now, he thinks he has an advantage with Corliss Williamson. So if you're at home, look for the Pistons to keep going down there until the Lakers do something about it.
Williamson misses the first. Very few things in sports like a Game 7. There'll be one tomorrow on the Gulf Coast from Tampa. It'll be the Calgary Flames and the Tampa Bay Lightning. Gary Thorne and John Davidson, Bill Clement, John Saunders, Barry Melrose, the whole crew going down for one of the great things in sports, a Game 7. If there's a Game 7 in this series, it would be 2 weeks from tonight right here.
And it would be great to have one. I thought the puck went over the line. I don't know much about hockey, but that was a goal.
I'm calling JD right now. Hold on. O'Neal got it back from Fox, but Okura was there to slap it away. These two teams met in '88, and the Lakers beat Detroit. in a 7th game. 6 on the shot clock now as they inbound. And then the following year they met again, and Detroit swept Los Angeles. Wow. O'Neal.
Again, way too deep, Allen. You know, again, they do not want Shaq to have those type of shots, obviously. They're trying to force him away from the bucket. But so far in game 1, in this game, Shaq's getting way too close to the hoop.
15 points. He's 5 of 6 from the field, and Shaq is 5 of 8 from the free throw line. Hamilton. Travel. 7:11 remaining. First half in Los Angeles. Larry Brown's Detroit Pistons hanging right in on top by 1, 28-27. The Lakers' dominant man tonight has been Shaquille O'Neal with 15 points. Chauncey Billups, the leading scorer for Detroit, with 8. Game 1 tonight, game 2 here Tuesday, and then it's on to Detroit for 3. O'Neal foul.
You know, you look at that move right there, and you look at Shaquille O'Neal and the size, and what is he reported as what he weighs now? 360?
340, I think.
Well, he weighs more than any of those. But what no one talks about is his athleticism and his quickness. I mean, that move he made shouldn't be able to be done by a guy the size of him. But he can do it.
And probably can't be appreciated because he is such a monster.
He is. He is a big man.
5 of 9 now from the free throw line.
You know, I know hitting Pedro is very difficult, Al, but I think guarding Shaq is pretty tough also.
I would put that in the top 10. Devin George, Karl Malone, Gary Payton, Kobe, and O'Neal are the Laker 5 on the floor right now. Prince, Hamilton, Billups has come back. And you've got Ben Wallace in the game and Eldon Campbell for Detroit. 28 all, approaching the halfway mark of the second quarter. Campbell, just like practice for a number of years, against O'Neal. Hamilton, contested by Bryant. Rebound goes to Malone. Again, Payton and Malone still scoreless. 0 for 7 from the field between them. For Shaq, it's a different story. He dishes it off to Malone, and Cross still can't get anything to drop. George, they're going to work it into Shaq again. And then George can't handle it, but it goes out of bounds off Detroit. Phil Jackson said they will see a healthy dose of Shaq, and he wasn't lying. It's like castor oil for the Pistons.
No, he knows that's a matchup that Detroit cannot handle, and the Lakers have gone to him almost exclusively every possession. And when you look at it, where he's caught the ball, most of them have been dunks, and Larry Brown doesn't want that. Look at the fouls already. He's drawn 4 fouls already from the bigs of Detroit. That means they have 20 fouls left.
Shaq has played 17 of the 18 minutes. Got a brief blow at the end of the first quarter. Lakers inbounding 11 on the shot clock. Hamilton tried to steal but couldn't. Bryant to Malone. 5 on the shot clock. Here's O'Neal. He'll take it up. Tayshaun Prince back for Detroit.
Now that's the 3rd time that the Lakers have taken a shot with less than 2 seconds on the shot clock. That's good Detroit defense.
Phillips. And Campbell got the rebound and also I think got poked in the eye or hit in the face as that one drops, and it's a 3-point Detroit lead.
Yeah, Billups has to play well. Again, he is the X factor in this series, in my opinion.
He has moved around. You had him for a few minutes, didn't you, Doc, in Orlando?
I had him a whole year, but he didn't put a uniform on.
That's what I meant, a few minutes.
I'm used to that.
Yes, you are. Here's Bryant. Kobe comes up short again.
And that was Tayshaun Prince's length that bothered Kobe Bryant on that shot.
Bryant is now 3 of 9. Wallace over to Campbell. Malone gets the rebound, but the quick hands of Hamilton. He still can't get possession for Detroit, though, as Kobe swings it over to a wide-open George for three. 31 all.
And that was all caused by the steal and not steal by Rip Hamilton. I tell you, in this league, if you go for a steal and don't get it, most of the time, the other team scores. The guys are just too good.
Campbell, the bounce pass to Hamilton, but he fumbled it out of bounds. Larry Brown, he's the oldest man to ever coach in the finals. Larry's 63, also coached in the finals with Philadelphia when he was 60. You know, Doc, you think about it, since the calendar turned to 2000, Dick Vermeil won a Super Bowl at age 63. Scotty Bowman won a Stanley Cup at 68. A whistle here. Jack McKeon won a World Series at 72. At least there's one profession that doesn't have this mindless obsession with a young demographic.
Yeah, in coaching. So what you're saying is I don't have a chance.
Doc, you're kind of right in the middle here.
Yeah, I'm getting there.
You stay with me for a few years. Then we get you a little savvier.
There is some truth to that. I mean, if you have experience, you have experience, and especially in coaching. It's not like the coaches have to go out there and play. You need that experience, and I think the older coaches can relay that. And some of the younger coaches, obviously, because I'm young, I must say that, can do it as well. But Larry Brown, I played for this man, and he is all about the game of basketball. Phil Jackson is the same way. The things that stand out to me from both of them, they're both communicators, and they both have the ability to sell their players on playing the game through roles.
Phil is 58. By the way, how good does Larry Brown look for a guy who's 63?
Yeah, that's amazing.
Campbell to Prince. I guess coaching is like horse training. The older horse trainers always look great. I don't know, is it being outdoors?
Yeah.
With the whole thing, but maybe being around young guys.
Oh, I don't think that hurts.
Dr. Jack Ramsey was doing the game on radio in his 70s. Bryant misses. 33 all, 3:23 remaining in the half, and Larry Brown's going to stop it. There is Michael Eisner, our ultimate boss. Diane Stern, wife of the commissioner. David Stern, the commish, out here for game one, and he's hoping it'll be an entire fortnight, otherwise known as 2 weeks.
Yes, and the way it looks so far, it could happen.
You know, Doc, one thing we should talk about right now is the change in format. In the earlier rounds, it goes 2-2 and then 1-1-1. You go back and forth. In the finals, 2 at home, 3 on the road, and then 2 at home if there is a 6th and 7th game. It would seem to me, as Peyton steals it and he has Kobe out in front, and the Lakers take the lead. Is there a bigger premium on the home team winning both games in this format as opposed to the other format?
No, you know, I think the 3 games, it hurts more, because I think in the finals it's very difficult. You have 2 good basketball teams. It's very difficult to beat either one of these teams 3 times in a row. So in essence, the team with the 3 is giving away one of those games. They're going to lose one of those games. It's almost guaranteed.
Ben Wallace just tied the game. 2:40 to go in the first half. Peyton into Malone. Into Shaq, and Shaq puts it in. Wow. Shaquille O'Neal with a total now of 18 points in the 20 minutes he's played.
And he's made some difficult shots. They haven't been all dumb. So, you know, those are the type of shots that Larry Brown doesn't mind.
Campbell missing, but goes to the free throw line. 28 points now, 28 of the Lakers' 37 points from the 2 big guys, and Malone and Peyton still haven't scored.
Well, you knew coming into this series that there was no answer from Shaq. Well, the Lakers have already proven that there is no answer for Shaq. What we didn't know is if they can get Kobe on track, and really so far they have not. Kobe has got some steals and got an easy bucket there, but it's been difficult scoring for him thus far.
Bryant is 4 of 11 from the field. 0 for 2 from beyond 3. 1 of 2 for Campbell here with Malone. with the rebound.
Yeah, I think this is a key stretch in the game, and obviously the first half is how you close out the half. Detroit wants to try to close this half out with the score at where it's at, or even take a lead.
And O'Neal gets fouled. Meanwhile, Rasheed Wallace, such a big part of their success, has not played in this quarter because of 2 personal fouls. Here's Michelle.
Hey, guys, during the last timeout, Phil Jackson and his staff talked about executing the offense. They told the team, we're not moving the ball, we're not doing the things we've talked about doing, and this is much more about us than it is about Detroit. Way too much dribbling, not enough passing. Since that timeout, Doc, how have they responded?
Well, they've gotten 2 turnovers. That's basically what they've done. But Phil Jackson is right. The Laker in the triangle offense is an offense predicated on ball movement, not dribble movement. And if you watch the Lakers thus far in this half, it's all been off the dribble. That's not the way Phil Jackson and his Lakers staff wants them to play. And I don't think he believes he can beat the Pistons playing that way.
Shaquille O'Neal now has 20 points and stopped the presses 8 of 12 from the free throw line. That misses the rim. O'Neal gets the rebound. 30 points, 30 of the 39, but they're up by 3. Most points for Shaq in any half in this year's playoffs. Lakers playing their 18th postseason game. O'Neal trying to get it underneath to George and couldn't get it through Campbell. Ticking down to a minute. Williamson.
That's one of the few guys that Karl Malone would actually get out of the way for.
Think of the dirty work Malone has to do. He had Duncan for 6 games. He had Garnett for 6 games. So he hasn't scored, but he's always a factor. Stolen by Detroit. Here's Billups. He goes all the way and then drops it off, and the foul is committed here. Williamson going to the hoop. Gary Payton gets whistled, and that's the 3rd foul on Gary Payton. He's the first Laker with 3 fouls. In fact, he's the first guy on either team. Now, are you surprised that Larry Brown hasn't put Rasheed Wallace back in the game here in the second quarter?
I'm really not. You know, I think Larry Brown is counting fouls right now as much as the score. He's looking at the scoreboard. He sees it's a 1-point game, so they're safe. This way you go in the second half and you have 4 fouls to use from Rasheed Wallace. I guarantee you if it was an 8 or 9-point deficit, you would see Rasheed Wallace. Sometimes coaches, they don't just go by seconds. They just look at the scoreboard. And that's what he's subbing by. He's not subbing by minutes. He's doing it by the score. And as long as the score stays close, keep Rasheed on the bench, we can use him in the second half.
Payton goes out with his 3. Fisher comes in. Final minute of the first half. And Detroit has the lead by 1.
You know, this will be the 18th straight time now for the Lakers that they have not scored 50 points or more in the first half. So, you know, we talk about the Pistons offense. Right now, the Lakers offense is not as well and not that great either.
George passed up the 3, settles for the 2 attempt, doesn't get that. Malone comes up with the ball. Now the Lakers should move it back outside because they can run the clock just about all the way down, but Bryant will take it there anyway. They could have taken the clock down to about 2, but Kobe saw the opening, and the Lakers have the lead.
And he never saw the clock.
Rasheed Wallace is going to come into the game 15.4 seconds, and of course you risk a 3rd foul, but that's the one thing I would least expect from Wallace at this point.
Yeah, and they have the ball, so they're going to take the last shot, and what Larry Brown is saying is we're going to spread the floor with Rasheed. He's not going to be involved until the last second, so really tough for him to get a foul.
Hamilton drives on Bryant, and then Kobe rejects it. Hamilton saves it from going out of bounds, and then a double dribble. Great defense. You know, the thing about Bryant, if you're a casual basketball fan, you know about Kobe. You know about Kobe in more ways than you care to know. But you think of him on the basketball floor as an offensive guy. He's also a tremendous defender.
He really is. And one thing that should be of note, you know, no one really wants to guard Rip Hamilton, but Kobe Bryant said in practice this week, and he asked Phil Jackson, please put me on him. I can guard him. And he's done a great job in the first half so far of guarding Rip Hamilton.
Hamilton is 1 for 6, being guarded by Bryant, and has turned the ball over 5 times. Fisher, final shot of the half. The Lakers want a foul. There is no foul called. Derek says, come on.
Well, one thing the officials are saying is if you're going to throw your body into a guy and try to draw a foul, we're not going to give you a foul, and that's what they're saying here.
Yeah, we're hip to it.
You can watch him. See, that's Derek Fisher bringing the contact to Lindsey Hunter. It looks bad, but it wasn't. That was not a foul.
Here's Michelle.
All right, with Kobe Bryant. Kobe, you said coming into this game, one of the concerns was your lack of familiarity with the Pistons. What did you learn in this first half?
Well, you know, we're still trying to get a feel for their rhythm. You know, it's the first time we really played them, so it's kind of like two heavyweight boxers filling each other out.
And you and Rip are part of that. You know Rip from high school. You've played against him here in the pros. How hard is he making you work on defense?
He's making me work. But, you know, then again, being a professional athlete, you know, if you're not in condition to run and play for 48 minutes, then you shouldn't be out there.
And what are they doing defensively that's making it tough for you guys to execute?
You know, we're just not familiar with what they're trying to do defensively. You know, it's a matter of us becoming more familiar with their tactics and their strategy, and then trying to adjust.
Kobe, thanks for stopping.
My pleasure.
Back it to you, Al.
I talked to Coach Larry Brown coming out of the locker room, and he said we got to keep Rasheed in the game without fouling. Rip Hamilton goes 1 for 6. We miss a lot of baskets. Rips has 5 turnovers. And we're still in this. I said, Coach, can you feel good about still being in it? He paused. He said, yes, but we got to keep Sheed in the game, guys.
Yeah, that's an interesting point because Wallace played only 8 minutes in the first half, so he was barely a factor. We talked about Hamilton, and yet here is Detroit. They've had the lead several times in the game, down by only 1.
And you look at how the Lakers scored. You know, 23 of their 41 points were either second chance points or off the Pistons turnovers. So they haven't scored much at all in half-court offense.
And that's what Rasheed Wallace can do for you. So he starts the second half and drains a 3. Malone, who still has not scored, neither has Payton. And Gary turns it over.
You know, I look at the first half, and my first thought was when the Pistons see that first half and all the layups they missed, all the free throws they missed, and all the turnovers that they had, they're going to be really upset. Because watching that first half, the Pistons should have been up 10 to 12 points, and instead now they're only up 2.
And Gary Payton just committed his 4th foul. Billups. Cute little move underneath, and Detroit is up by 4.
You know, Larry Brown also made another great point at halftime. He said that they aren't used to getting wide open shots like they had in the first half. They're so used to the Eastern Conference basketball where every shot was contested. They have to get used again that they do have time to take some of these shots, and they'll make a higher percentage once they calm down and understand that they are open shots that they're getting now.
Every shot almost literally contested in the 6 games against the Indiana Pacers. 7 lead changes, 9 ties, and Detroit with the biggest lead in 5 as Kobe Bryant gracefully puts one in to make it a 2-point game. Billups is their leading scorer. Chauncey with the ball has 13 points. Here's Hamilton over Bryant.
See, that's where he can get his shot off. And even there, Bryant was quick enough to come back and contest the shot.
Bryant gets by Rasheed Wallace, misses it, but then Wallace drops it out of bounds. Lakers with a fresh 24, 2 minutes into the 3rd quarter. Second game in the series is Tuesday night here. Then to Michigan for game 3. Kobe was long on that one. Wallace gets the rebound out in front to Hamilton, guarded by George, and drops it in softly. And Brown's team up by 4. Lakers undefeated at home in the playoffs, 9-0, but they've had some close calls, including the other night when they trailed in the second half to Minnesota as Bryant drives to the hoop.
Well, that's the second time now that Kobe Bryant in the second half has attacked the rim. I think his adjustment in the second half is going to be, okay, Tayshaun Prince, you're very long and you can test my shots, but you cannot keep me from driving around you, and that's what Kobe's going to try to do.
Prince outside to a wide-open Billups, who hits it for 3.
You see there where Billups called it out and took his time and took the shot.
Billups, as you mentioned, such a key factor in this series. Probably what is in vogue now to call it the X factor.
That is in vogue.
That is very much in vogue. And I'll never forget, as Bryant misses this one, and the rebound goes to Wallace, what Greg Popovich told us the day of the Derek Fisher game at practice that morning. He said Derek Fisher is the X factor.
Yeah, I wonder if Pop wishes he had never said that.
Yeah.
The karma came back to get him.
It did.
You know, we talk about how dominant the Lakers are, and you bring that up. Without that shot, you probably aren't looking at the Lakers here. Without the great block of Tayshaun Prince, you're probably not looking at the Pistons here.
2 great blocks by Tayshaun Prince. One on Reggie Miller and the other one on Al Harrington in Game 6. Ben Wallace drops one.
That's gravy. You know, whenever Ben Wallace makes a shot from out there, that's gravy. But they want him to be aggressive, and I like what Larry Brown is doing with Ben Wallace. He's telling him, if you're open, make yourself a threat and take the shot.
5 points for him. And Gary Payton drops it. So that's a 3-pointer for Payton. The 7-point advantage was the largest of the game, and Payton makes it a 4-point game now with 8 minutes to go in the 3rd period.
And that was Payton's first bucket in this game.
Gary Payton playing with 4 personal fouls. The thing about Payton, as Prince drops one in, Phil Jackson will not take Payton out of the game in this situation, because for the most part in the playoffs, what has happened is that Derek Fisher and Kareem Rush play a lot of the 4th quarter and not Payton. In fact, Fisher and Rush each have more minutes in the 4th than does Gary, as Malone still doesn't have a point.
And Fisher has more minutes than everybody except for Kobe and Shaq. So you can tell, you know, it's something that all coaches do. They trust guys they've been with for a long time, and Phil Jackson trusts Derek Fisher on the floor.
Prince short on the 2. Out of bounds it goes. Detroit. You know, Doc was talking about the Derek Fisher play. Who can forget that? I mean, this goes down in NBA lore in San Antonio after Tim Duncan had made an amazing shot with the clock stopping 4:10 after 2 timeouts. Payton found Fisher, and you know the rest. And then on the other side, as the Lakers exultantly flew home and won it in Game 6. This in Game 2, Reggie Miller would have tied the game in the final minute there, but Prince comes out of nowhere to block it. Pistons hold on, win the game to, in effect, seize home court advantage at that point as they left Indiana 1 game apiece. And 2 of the reasons very clearly why this is the matchup in the finals.
And again, role players. You know, those 2 plays were not made by the stars on either team. And, you know, when you talk about the Detroit Pistons, if, let's say, they didn't win the title this year, it would be probably the first team since the Seattle Sonics that have won a title without, quote-unquote, a superstar.
Yeah.
So role players are significant in this league of stars.
Good point. And the one big guy they have came to him halfway through the season. Rasheed Wallace, more than halfway, actually. Prince. Here's Wallace again from outside. Big Ben not noted for offense. And, of course, with 2 on the timer. Now that one goes in. With 2 on the timer, it was Prince from the corner. 2-pointer, long 2. And then Billups collides with George, and the foul is on Chauncey.
I mean, this is just desperation, Al. You know, I've always thought the freest time to shoot the ball is when there's 1 second on the shot clock, because there's no other option.
And Doc, he kissed it off the glass.
I don't think he was looking at it.
No, I don't think so either.
It's Sunday. The banks are closed.
7 on the 24. George puts it up from the corner. Prince with the rebound. Crowd getting nervous. Detroit up by 8. The Lakers have made this crowd nervous for 6 months. Hamilton has it knocked down by Bryant. O'Neal collects it.
Again, the length of Kobe Bryant is absolutely bothering Rip Hamilton.
George missed the jam. Back comes Billups. Ball out of bounds. Lakers will have it.
And that's a rare fast break out.
Remaining. Yeah.
A rare fast break. But that's, Larry Brown told me he wants to do that more. Every shot contested by the Detroit Pistons, including dunks.
Wallace impeded it just enough. And it's against the Lakers. 3-second call here. Or no, it's a foul.
Yeah, they're saying that Shaquille O'Neal used his opposite arm to wave off Ben Wallace right there, and that's where the foul was. You know, it's so difficult, again, to referee a game because you don't know if a player's flopping or not with Shaq because Shaq is so strong.
That's third on Shaq. O'Neal the other night in the clincher against Minnesota had 4 in the first half, but Jackson just went with him, and he didn't pick up his 5th until the 4th period. Kobe that night had 3 and had to spend a lot of the first half on the bench. Hamilton looked for the foul, doesn't get it. Bryant now gets doubled and gets fouled.
And more importantly, gets fouled by Rasheed Wallace.
She pleading his case to Joey Crawford as the Magic Man observes.
There's a look of concern on his face.
Pistons outscoring the Lakers by 9 in the period. Lakers led by 1 at the turn. And that's knocked away and stolen by Billups. And he'll reset. Big Ben. Fouled by George.
See, that's why you want Ben Wallace to be aggressive. You know, he's not a great offensive threat, but sometimes you can make yourself a threat, and by doing that, the least he does is draw a foul on another key player from the Lakers.
Stu or Scott? Next up, Stu.
Guys, I talked to Ben Wallace before the game. Everybody knows about the guy's defense, but he said he's been working on that 15-foot jump shot. And I said to him, well, can you hit it? And he said, you ain't seen it? You'll see it. He has an air ball as a 15-footer, but he's also hit a 15-footer. And he said, here's the deal. Even if I miss the first couple of shots, because Shaq's going to give me that shot, I still got to keep taking it to make sure he comes out and D's me up, guys.
Did he check with Larry?
No, I can guarantee you that. You know, it's funny. He's going to keep taking it, and he can keep making it, but Shaq's still not coming out.
Underneath, Malone finally scores. So Karl Malone in a game that is 31 minutes old finally puts one in. 6-point game. Ben Wallace. And there's what Stewart was talking about.
Man, that's what I was talking about.
Sort of. Well, that was a 16-footer.
Yeah.
O'Neal. Slam dunk.
Larry Brown and the Detroit Pistons got to be very careful right now, because you can feel the Lakers starting to get into this game.
When Nicholson gets up, you know the Lakers are on the cusp. Billups would have counted.
I like that. I like what Billups just did. He could feel it. He can sense it. He decided he was going to try to take it on himself. But again, Shaquille O'Neal has gotten the ball deep all night, and that's the 3rd time the Pistons have tried to go for a steal and didn't get it. And here you see Chauncey Billups. He knows his team needs a bucket right now, and he takes it on himself, and now he gets to go to the foul line.
And that's the 5th foul on Gary Payton, so Fisher comes in. But again, it's not like, I mean, we know that Gary's going to go to the Hall of Fame and all of the rest, but it's a situation where the way the Lakers play with Fisher and Rush as the guys, and then Bryant moving to the small forward spot in the 4th quarter, it's not that big a deal.
No, it's not. The only difference is that in this series, Derek Fisher doesn't have the size of Gary Payton. So when you look out there, who's going to guard Billups? And I think that's a tough matchup for Fisher.
So Gary has to come out with 5. 6-point Detroit lead. Bryant to O'Neal. Another slam.
See, these are not the shots that Larry Brown wants to give to Shaquille O'Neal. Right now, he's getting wide open dunks. 3 or 4 of them have been on gambles.
24 points for O'Neal, 16 for Bryan. So the two big guys have 40. Billups all the way to the rim.
See, Billups likes this matchup, and you can see it. I wouldn't be surprised to see Kobe Bryant guarding Billups pretty soon, because Rip Hamilton is off the floor.
Bryant off the glass. So let me ask you this. In light of the fact I talked about how they use Payton and all of that, if you were Jackson, do you not then take him out with 4?
Yeah, you probably do in this case because of fouls. But, you know, Phil Jackson has done this all year.
Sure.
He has Shaquille O'Neal on the floor with 3 fouls in the second quarter against Minnesota. So he tries to make the players find their own way. And sometimes that hurts him. But more times than not, it gives his players confidence and responsibility.
After the Prince miss, 2 minutes remaining now in the third quarter.
I'll tell you, the Lakers have a great matchup on the other end with Kobe Bryant.
From the corner. Swatted out by Malone to Bryant. Bryant with Hunter on him, and now Prince picks him up. Shaquille back to Kobe after he sets the screen. George comes in and can't save it from going out of bounds and goes tumbling into the first row. A minute and a half.
Al, before the game, I asked Phil Jackson how he would characterize the importance of Game 1. He said it's a critical game and extremely important. It puts a lot of pressure on the home team if they lose Game 1. Jackson also said that the 7 days off was a factor coming into this game. He said, we may be out of rhythm, they may be out of rhythm. That time off is going to make us, take us out of sync. And Doc, would you agree with that at this point, that the time off might have affected either of these teams?
Well, I think it definitely will affect the Lakers more than Detroit. You know, the extra day of playing for Detroit, the later game, and the way that series was fought. I think Detroit's in better rhythm coming into this game than the Lakers are.
Eldon Campbell, as the 24 wound down, makes it a 6-point game. A minute to play. 5 for the former Laker. Kareem Rush and Slava Medvedenko come in to finish the third quarter for Los Angeles. Fisher contested by Hunter. Now Shaq has to come all the way out.
And all the way out is a great point. Look where the Lakers are starting their offense. And this is what's been happening all evening long. And this is why they're out of sync. It's not because it's bad offense. It's because it's the Detroit Pistons defense is stretching them out of the places they want to be.
And O'Neal got back underneath and couldn't handle Rush's pass. Medvedenko saves it. About an 8-second differential, and Hamilton went down and is just now getting up in backcourt as Kobe has that one blocked. And when Hamilton went down, it means that as he stayed down there, he's able to score, and he goes down hard again and is so frustrated, he's hurt, that he winds up kicking the ball, but no infraction.
Yeah, he was trying to kick the ball to give him some time to get off the floor.
Medvedenko into O'Neal now. 8-point lead. And Shaq banks it in. Lakers led by 1 at the half. Pistons will have the final shot in all likelihood here as Hunter picked up outside, and then Fisher commits the foul. Lakers had a foul to give.
Yeah, so it wasn't a big deal. You know, I think Fisher would have rather used another second. I'll tell you, that last shot by Shaquille O'Neal, that's the 3rd time he's made a shot similar. That's unguardable. You can drop any defense you want. And when he starts making shots and throwing jump hooks, that's unguardable.
26 for the big man. Hunter missing, and that'll do it for the first 36 minutes of this one. 12 to go in the 4th. In Game 1, the Pistons trying to come in here and steal the opener.
I'm going to say this again, guys. Every extra pass you make, our shooting percentage goes off the charts. And we have a chance to offensive rebound the ball. All right? Hey, you got great shots, you got to shoot them. I'll let you shoot 16 shots in 15 minutes. I ain't going to be afraid of that.
What do you think, Doc?
Well, that's great coaching, you know, because Eldon Campbell had hesitated on a couple of shots. Larry Brown saw that, so he used that timeout to give Elton Campbell confidence, and by doing that, that's huge.
You know, there's a guy, Bill Davidson, as under the radar as any owner. He's owned the Pistons for about 30 years. He shows up at a game in a windbreaker. It looks like one of those old members-only models, whether it's hockey or basketball. And this man will go to Tampa tomorrow to see if his Tampa Bay Lightning can win the Stanley Cup and then come back here and then go to Detroit. What a time for that 81-year-old.
It's pretty neat.
Man, Bill Davidson made his money in the glass business.
And just think of this, Al. If they do win the Tampa Bay Lightning, he will be able to bring the cup and sit it in the Detroit Pistons locker room before Game 2.
Well, that's a pair to draw to. I mean, in his home at some point over the summer, he could have the Stanley Cup and the Larry O'Brien Trophy. Owns the Pistons, owns the WNBA team, the Shock. Karl Malone's daughter plays on that team, and Rush gets tied up in backcourt by Lindsey Hunter. Stewart.
Guys, the last time out, Larry Brown was going through the usual coaching X's and O's things that you wouldn't understand unless you had a dictionary. But at the very end, he got really emotional. He said, guys, we got to win the next 5 minutes. We got to win that and put it on them. After that, we play as a group. It doesn't matter who gets the layup or get the shot. Win the next 5 minutes, play as a group, take this thing home, guys.
Here's Medvedenko passing of a shot. Well, he knows he can come in and steal one, and when you're the visiting team, that's what you want to do.
Well, he did it with the Philadelphia 76ers, so Larry Brown has history.
And Rush trying to get it up and have that contested as the shot clock.
Great defense. And I'm going to tell you what you sense right now is the offense isn't getting better for either team, and it's because of both teams are playing pretty good defense. But the Detroit Pistons defense is starting to crank it up a little bit here.
This game has gone almost the opposite of what the guys who analyze games and the women who analyze games as well thought. The Pistons have the higher field goal percentage. The Lakers have the higher free throw percentage as Medvedenko fouls Wallace. And the Lakers have committed 8 more fouls than have the Pistons.
Well, there's a reason, because the Pistons are taking the Lakers off the dribble. They're attacking the basket. Larry Brown in the first quarter turned to his guys and said, listen, we can get any shot we want to. You remember that? He said the Lakers are playing no defense. So calm down. Let's keep taking the ball to the basket, and we'll get everything we want. Now, he knows on the other end, if they're going to get those shots and make them, that they're going to be a good defensive team, because that's who they are.
A minute into the fourth quarter, Detroit up by 7.
And this is a big stretch for the Lakers because there is no Shaquille O'Neal on the floor.
On the left, Joe Dumars, so instrumental in the Pistons' success as the head of basketball operations and the president. You saw Rick Mahorn, one of the bad boys, who is the radio commentator, fellow commentator for the Pistons. Bryant finds a wide-open Fisher, who's short.
Again, 2 seconds on the shot clock when that shot was going up.
And that really works into Detroit's hands. As we said, Detroit trying to cut down on the Laker possessions from the corner. That doesn't drop from Prince, but that is good to make it 68-58.
You can sense the Pistons getting more confident as this game goes on.
Ben Wallace gives Detroit its biggest lead of the game, and now Hunter gets the rebound ahead to Prince. Bryant falls into him and knocks the ball out of bounds. Williamson coming back into the game, and Darvin Ham will come back in for Detroit.
And this is how Ben Wallace scores, by attacking the bucket. Not only a great defensive player, but obviously a great rebounder.
Ben Wallace with 7 points. Lakers have been behind 3 times in the playoffs at home in the fourth quarter and have won, but now down by 10 with under 10 to play. Hunter for 3, 13 points, and Jackson says that's enough for right now.
Well, you could sense it. You could feel the Detroit Pistons starting to turn the energy up here.
Back in the fourth quarter now, the McDonald's NBA Finals summary. Had the Pistons get here, beat the Bucks in 5, went to a 7th game and knocked off New Jersey, and then took the Pacers out in 6. Lakers beat the Rockets in 5, then were 2-0 down to the Spurs, came back and won the next 4, and then took Minnesota, the #1 seed in the West, out in 6 games. Lakers now down by 13, and Bryant starts the comeback with a 2-pointer here to make it a 71-60 game. That's the Lakers' first points in the fourth period.
Tayshaun Prince goes out of the game. Kobe Bryant gets an easy shot.
Williamson to Hamilton. Not free enough.
Well, I tell you, Kobe Bryant took his eyes off Rip Hamilton for a half a second, and when he turned back around, Rip was no longer there.
That's all he needed. Bryant. Darvin Ham is there. You know, when you look at Phil Jackson, Jackson is 44-4 in the playoffs, in the 48 playoff series, as you see Hamilton just getting free.
Yeah, and you saw Bryant turn his head. 44.
He's 44-4. He's won 9 titles. When he has home court advantage, he's 35-0 as Rush seeks a 3 and doesn't get it. And here comes Hamilton leading the break. Hunter puts it up, and it's out of bounds to the Lakers. Doc, when Jackson wins the first game in a playoff series, 38-0.
He's a pretty good coach.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, those numbers are so amazing. They're just dominant numbers.
Eight and a half left. They work inside again to O'Neal, and Shaq banks it in. So Shaquille O'Neal, who has scored 25 or more now in 20 straight finals games, tying Michael Jordan's mark, has 28 points tonight.
Yeah, and right now, it's been Kobe Bryant and Shaquille O'Neal all evening, and that's what the Pistons said it would be.
Williamson misses the jam, but Hamilton is there, has that one blocked. And then a whistle in backcourt as Bryant got free, but there's a foul.
And a great foul, because if they don't commit the foul, I think that was Darvin Ham. Really a big heads-up play by him, knowing that Kobe Bryant had already released for an easy 2 points. So in essence, the Pistons are taking away 2 points from the Lakers. Smart play.
Under 8 left. O'Neal starts to back in before the shot.
So now we see Corliss Williamson guarding Shaq. And I know what you're thinking. Well, Corliss Williamson plays the 3. The reason he's on him is because of he's so short but strong. And a lot of people think the way to guard Shaq is by getting low to his legs. I don't think there is a way to guard Shaq.
Foul on Williamson. They reset the shot clock at 14. Bryant off balance. O'Neal is there. Gets the bounce. Back to single digits now. 9-point game.
I think Larry Brown is going to really watch this stretch here. He'll use a timeout just to slow the pace down if he has to.
Hamilton missed badly. Bryant. Joey Crawford whistling a foul here on Detroit.
I mean, this is the downside of putting a smaller guy on Shaquille O'Neal. A long rebound, he can just reach over you like he does and score. Shaq has been very active this evening.
Foul on Williamson is 3rd. Ham goes out. Hunter goes out. Eldon Campbell into the game.
Now they're going to put Eldon Campbell on Shaq. So that's been the 5th guy this evening already that has guarded Shaquille O'Neal. I wouldn't be surprised to see the young rookie at some point.
Equal opportunity. Bryant. Would have been a 3. 7 minutes to go. Oh, and it's Kareem Rush nearly with a steal from Hamilton. And everybody in the front row getting up and giving Bob Delaney a piece of their mind. Herb Brown is Larry's older brother, longtime coach. In fact, people forget Herb Brown was the head coach of the Detroit Pistons in the mid-70s for one full season and parts of two others. So it's not just nepotism. And there are two kids in the Brown family, Herb and Larry. Their mom is still alive. She's 99 years old and watching in Charlotte, North Carolina, and the guys tell me has all of her faculties.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. And both of these guys, Herb Brown has written books about basketball. Can you imagine the dinner table conversations?
A little bit of knowledge there as Prince whips one into the corner. And then Campbell from the elbow misses.
And Larry is upset because Elton Campbell was wide open, and that's what he was talking about in that timeout. Take your open shot. He dribbled himself into a tough shot.
Malone. Kobe. 24 is at 6. Fisher gets it after Hamilton couldn't corral it. Can't get the drop. And Rasheed Wallace over to Hamilton. So now halfway through the period, and Detroit is up by 9.
You know, the difference between the Detroit Pistons and everyone else that the Lakers have played, if you get down to them, it's not so easy to come back on them because it's not easy to score them. I think the way the Lakers are going to have to score is by stopping the Pistons, forcing turnovers, and second shots.
Point well taken. Detroit and San Antonio tied for the fewest points allowed in the league this year. The Lakers are able to get by San Antonio, but now in jeopardy of losing game 1 to the Pistons. Shaquille got free enough.
And no help. You know, if you're one of the bigs for the Pistons, you have a tough series ahead of you. Because watching so far, when Larry Brown has decided is, we're just going to guard Shaq head up and try to stop these other guys.
Phillips lays it off for Campbell, and then he's fouled on the way to the hoop.
Again, the Detroit Pistons are attacking the basket, and that's how they're scoring points. I mean, this is the 20th time, it feels like, that one of the Pistons have gotten into the lane, drove help, and then been able to get to the bucket. That's what they're trying to do. Attack, attack, attack. They believe that they're more athletic than the Lakers are.
Foul on Rush was his 3rd. Here's Michelle.
Hey, Al, I spoke to Lakers assistant Kurt Rambis during the last time out. He said nothing's changed. We're not moving the ball around. We're not reacting to their pressure. There's too much standing around, too much ball holding. Nothing's changed. Doc, what do you make of that?
Well, he's right, but the problem is the Detroit Pistons defense. They're not allowing them to move the ball. They're contesting every pass. And now you see a charging foul. So that's why it's so difficult to move on this basketball team.
That's 4 on Rush. We mentioned Payton already has 5, and Rush, who plays a lot of the fourth quarter, now has 4.
You know, some teams make offensive runs. The Detroit Pistons make defensive runs.
74-66, under 5 minutes now. Fourth quarter, game 1. Phillips has it taken away by Fisher. Kobe. And as Kobe is so adept at doing, it's that fake, and then he gets the foul, and the foul here is on Prince.
Well, you have to honor the fake because he can shoot. You know, if that was a non-shooter making this ball fake, you wouldn't honor it. But because Kobe Bryant is such a great shooter, you have to honor it. He is so good with his footwork.
This is, believe it or not, the Lakers' first free throw attempt of the half. You can register to vote for the NBA Finals MVP by sending the text message NBA to the number 622 using your Verizon wireless phone or log on to NBA.com. Don't forget that, Doc.
I will not.
74-68, Lakers cut it to 6.
I tell you, it's the Pistons turnovers that have allowed the Lakers to stay in this game. That's the only reason right now that the Lakers are in this game.
14 of them for Detroit. And then a big three by Prince. I mean big.
That was big.
77-68. A little over 4 to play.
Look at this. One-on-one coverage.
Over Ben Wallace.
Yeah, they're going to live with that. What they're going to say is, Shaq, you have to make all those shots. We're going to try to stay in between you and the basket and make you shoot over top. But in the meantime, all those other guys aren't going to get shots.
Shaquille O'Neal is 13 of 16. That's 81%. The rest of the Lakers are 28% from the field. Here's Hamilton. The air ball taken down by O'Neal.
It's amazing. Rip Hamilton has struggled all night, and the Pistons are up 7.
Payton back in the game. Gary playing with 5 fouls. Bryant one-on-one with Prince. Shovels it underneath, and O'Neal can't handle it. But it's on the end line, and now timeout is called. Still Detroit's ball. Larry takes a 20. 3:22 remaining in regulation. Pistons by 7. 3 minutes and 22 seconds remaining in the fourth quarter. Al Michaels, Doc Rivers, Michelle Tafoya, Stuart Scott. Game 1 in Los Angeles. Right back here Tuesday, and then it's on to Michigan. Games 3 and 4 and 5 if necessary at the Palace in Auburn Hills. 77-70 Detroit.
And watch a back cut or a lob. That's something Larry Brown loves doing out of timeouts.
He called the 20. Here's the play. Hamilton feeding Wallace. Free enough. Over Malone. 79-70. O'Neal and Bryant have combined for 56 points. And it's off Wallace out of bounds.
And you look at this Detroit Piston team, they are a terrific defensive team. And what they're saying again, Kobe, Shaq, you're going to have to beat us because we're going to guard the other guys on the floor.
Bryant gets tripled and then shoves it off to Fisher in the corner. Inside the Malone, and Carl now has 4 points.
That is a huge play.
Instead of a turnover, instead of it being 9 points and the Pistons with the ball, it's 7. 2.5 to go. Here's Billups. Big one.
See, Billups can get that shot all night. And they also know, Larry Brown knows, if Karl Malone decides to try to help, then Rasheed Wallace will get the shot. Billups has been the factor that he needed to be thus far in this game.
22 for Billups. The Pistons have 4 guys in double figures. The Lakers have been a 2-man scoring machine tonight. Nobody else has more than 5. That's George, and the Lakers turn it over with under 2 now to play. Prince. O'Neal gets the rebound. 1:42 remaining.
A great job by Detroit using clock. That's what they're doing now. They just need to burn clock.
And they've done a great job of that tonight. Larry Brown, very much like a football coach, who says we need to control the football for 40 minutes. Malone can't get it to drop. Rasheed Wallace gets the rebound, and that gets fouled by O'Neal.
You know what's interesting, Al? You can hear the fans telling the Lakers to shoot, shoot, shoot. The problem is it's tough to get a shot off. So when you get down to this Detroit Piston team, it's tough to come down there and throw shots up because the Piston team is not going to give you easy shots. So you're going to have to use the clock.
Here's Stuart Scott.
On that last timeout, Larry Brown was urging his team, use as much of the clock as possible. And there was 2:51 left in. He said, guys, all we have to do is win the next 3 minutes. He told them that 3 different times. Then he stood up and he started cheerleading. And he was cheerleading. And Corliss Williamson was cheerleading. And Lindsey Hunter was cheerleading. I was having a hard time figuring out who was cheerleading, who was coaching, guys.
Well, I think you do all those things when you do coach. You know, there's no saying in our league, if you win the first 3 minutes and the last 3 minutes of every quarter, you'll win most games. And that's exactly what Larry Brown has talked about. Coming out of the quarter, he said, let's win the first 5 minutes. Now he's saying, let's win the last 3. The Pistons are a great defensive team, and we've said that all evening. And they believed in this series that they would be able to score. And their number is still 85, between 85 and 90. They believe if they can score that in every game, then they can go on their defense and trust their defense. And that's what they're doing this evening.
Meanwhile, the Lakers have lived on the precipice almost the entire season, and they've put themselves with a loss tonight in that same relative position because Detroit will, among other things, wrest home court advantage. Bryant from way outside. Bryant again. That's a 3.
If it wasn't for second shots and turnovers, this would be a rout, and the Lakers would have about 55 points right now. And against a great offensive Laker team, that's amazing.
Wallace. Wow. And when your defensive dude puts in a 2 here,
he told
you know it's your night.
He told Stewart that he was going to keep shooting.
That 15-pointer, that 15-footer. Here's Rush again. Fisher underneath.
Even that was contested. And he missed that shot because he thought that Ben Wallace was going to jump. This is a terrific win.
If somebody told you O'Neal would get 34, Bryant would get 25, Rasheed Wallace would have foul trouble and not play very much in the first half, you'd be in Los Angeles, you'd be facing the vaunted Lakers, and you'd win by about a dozen. What were those odds?
Well, I like what Larry Brown decided to do. Kobe Bryant and Shaq, you score. We're going to defend you, but you can score. We're not going to help, but we're going to shut everybody else down. And that's exactly what the Detroit Pistons did. And now we're no longer talking about bad offense. We're talking about great Detroit Piston defense.
The Detroit Pistons have told the country, hey, by the way, we're here too. Here's Stewart.
Chauncey Billups, you led the Pistons in scoring both regular season games against the Lakers. You do it again this game. What is it about your game and their defense that gives you opportunities?
I mean, I'm just trying to be aggressive, you know. We just try to put them in pick and rolls. We don't think they can stop us. We got shooters coming off pick and rolls, and then we got guys like Rasheed and Ben who can step out and hit that shot when they double me. So it's a tough cover.
If I had told you that Rip Hamilton would go 4 for 15 and you guys would win a game like this, what would you have told me before the game?
We'll be all right. We got other scorers. We got so many people that can score on this team. Some nights I'm going to be off. Some nights he is. Sometimes she is. We got other guys that can step up. So we all right when other guys don't score.
All right, John, congratulations. Rasheed Wallace, you hit the first 3 of the game, hit the first 3 of the second half. How frustrating was it for you to sit most of the first half?
It was killer, you know. But had guys on the bench that came up. B.I.G., Mimic came in there, did a good job. Eldon, you know, guys came in there and played. Corliss, D-Ham, and, you know, that's where it was at, our bench.
Shaq and Kobe both in double figures. Nobody else on the Lakers roster. How do you guys suffocate a team like that?
Well, it's not suffocating. You know, it's just effort. You know, those are great guys, like you just said, Shaq, Kobe. You know, we just got to make it harder for the other guys. We know they're going to get theirs no matter if it's on the line or, you know, a couple shots or whatever. So we just got to make it harder on the other players.
All right, good luck in game 2. Yeah. Al, back to you.
Thank you, Stuart. The Lakers have won 9 times.